बंद हो गया है, 22 तक बंद रहेगा। Good morning to all of you. I hope I am audible properly. Am I audible properly? All of you, I hope I am audible properly. See, in the first class, we are done with the first part of the unit 1.1. As you know already, we started with the unit 1.1, the meaning, scope and development of anthropology. In this part, we are done with the first part, meaning and scope of the anthropology. For the scope, I basically provided you a full-fledged diagram. This is what we are going to do again for the unit 1.3. Now in this class, we have to complete with the development of anthropology part. After completing this part, we are going to basically just see how the answer writing will work. Like in terms of the answer writing, I am going to provide you some of the basic guidelines, how your intro should look like, how your conclusion should look like, in this way. Fine? Okay. So before starting, I just wanted to know, do you have any another doubt like from the previous class? If having any doubt, you can ask for, otherwise I'm going to start. And having any doubt? No? Shall I start further? Okay. See, previous class, in the previous class, we are done with this part, introduction, meaning, definition, role of anthropologist, nature of anthropology. So you are not having any doubt from this part. We are also done with the basic introduction and the different scope, like the 4 various branches of anthropology. In today's class, we are going to deal with this part, the development of anthropology first, and then I am going to provide you some answer writing tips. Based upon that, we are going to have your test, and your test is going to be on Monday. So on Monday, we are going to have a live answer writing session along with the next part. Tomorrow we are going to start with the unit 1.2. Fine. So this is the basic plan. After each and every unit, I will be providing you time for a 2 to 3 days to just prepare the same, and then we are going to have the live answer writing. For the live answer writing, I am going to provide feedback. Fine. So I'm going to provide you the time also, around 10 to 15 minutes based upon the demand of the question, and you have to write the answer and submit it. Okay. Fine. So now let's first start with the first part, the mention of anthropologists and their book name and the stages of the development. Fine. So let's start with the same. Fine. So this is basically the part where we are going to talk about the origin and the development of anthropology. One more thing, all those students who basically subscribed for the course, you will receive kind of table where one side you are going to have anthropologist name, one side their book name, and one side the description where you can use them related to the unit 1.1. What you need to do, I will be sharing this table after the class. You need to write down those table in your notebook and you have to share the picture with me. Okay, so already I had given you the homework and you submitted the same. So after the class I'm going to check and will provide you the feedback. Okay, fine. So now let's start with this part. So anthropology means what? Anthropology means the study of the human being. Now, previously, this particular part of like this particular field, this subject, it was not having any sort of recognition. The reason being the nature. Anthropology in terms of nature is being divided into four parts. You know, archaeological anthropology, sociocultural anthropology, biological anthropology and linguistic anthropology. In the earlier time period, the archaeological anthropology part, it was being considered part of the ancient history. So, under the field of the history, under the subject of the history, anthropology is already covered. So, we were not having any concern about the excavation, about their studies, getting the information about their ages. We were not concerned about it. Later on, when we started developing them in terms of the society, culture, civilization, again, we were also not concerned to have a separate field. Why? Because this part of being part of culture, society, family, marriage, it was already part of the sociology. Why? Because this part in anthropology, 33% is having the similarities with sociology. So, in terms of that, the history, archaeological part covered in the history, the socioculture part covered in the sociology, the biological part, it covers in the life sciences, medical sciences. So, it was also being covered. Rest over, we were having linguistic anthropology. Again, it was part of the ancient history because there we are talking about the unwritten language, the script. So, different aspect related to the language. So, the major concern was the diverse nature of the anthropology. So, before the like formulative stage, before the formulative phase, we were not aware of, we were not thinking about having a separate field where we are going to deal for the anthropology. So therefore, it took so much of the time period to get the anthropology recognition as a separate field and to get the recognition in terms of having a separate department or separate sector within the colleges, universities and all. If any subject is getting a separate distinct name as well as recognition, or we are creating a separate dedicated department for them, so we can expect that later on in future we can have the scholarships, we can have the dedicated fund for the exploration of the subject. But for anthropology that was missing. So therefore, the origin and development of anthropology, it was very tough. The journey was very difficult. So the journey is being divided into four basic parts. So the first part that we are having is the formulating phase. So what you have to do is, first you have to complete this diagram along with me. Here I am giving you reference. I am going to create another version also so that you can create it along with me. But I had provided you a vision. So you need to have a full page, dedicated page for the same. We are going to do the color coding also. Fine. Okay. After that, I'm going to dictate so that you can write related to this part. Fine. Okay. So create the heading origin and development of anthropology. Hanji. So the first one is the formulating stage. So let's frame the same. Okay, so the formulating phase is the one which is basically providing us the details about how in different time period the anthropologists they basically conceptualized the subject or the future of the subject. So for the very first time there was one person and his name was the T.K. Penniman. So the T.K. Penniman, he was having a vision, and with that vision, he basically provided a book. And the title for the book is 100 Years of Anthropology, where he provided the idea of having the anthropology as a separate subject. He was saying that we should have a subject which is separately, dedicatedly talking about the humans only. And therefore, he said that the anthropology or the journey for anthropology, it was not easy. It started from, like, it started before 1835 and it continued till the 1947. Even after that also, like in today's time period also, we are continuously studying the human being. Why? Because the nature of the human being is changing separately. Fine. So the time period that for the first year, it was like around before 1930 sorry 1835. So till the time period of 1835, and before that we are basically taking upon the formulatory phase. So this formulatory phase, it is being specified as the formalization of anthropology as a subject. Earlier, informally, we are talking about human being as a part of history, as a part of polity, as a part of sociology, as a part of philosophy, as a part of medical science. Separately, we are like separating it into different parts. But in the formulatory phase, we started having the contribution of some anthropologists. No, I won't say anthropologists, they were basically sociologists. Later on, we started using them. So we were like in the formulating phase we were having it, and in the formulating phase we basically talk about some sort of anthropologists, and those anthropologists, they were talking about the different thought. Like if you do remember, I gave you the reference of the Aristotle. Hanji, if you do remember, just tell me quickly what Aristotle said. His contribution. Hanji, tell me quickly what Aristotle said. Hanji, tell me quickly. What Aristotle said. Okay. So he basically said that anthropologists, they are not the one, they were the gossipers, and who are gossiping about, like who are doing gossip about the human being, or their gossip revolve around the human being itself. Now in today's time period, we are considered as not offline gossiper but the online gossiper. Like for example, we are doing comments on some online post, we are reading the online post, we like to read them. So this is what we are basically having. So in today's time period, the medium is similar, the basic the pattern is also similar, but we changed it. We changed it into another version. So that's what you can understand. So before 1835, the time period was the formulatory phase. From 1835 to 1859, that was the time period which is basically being considered as the convergent phase, because now we are converting the knowledge of the different subjects and using it to convert for the anthropology. So that is being specified as the convergent phase. And then we are having the constructive phase. So constructive phase is the one when we started having construction in terms of the recognition in particular universities, getting infrastructure or the funds, proper mechanism. So that was basically part of the constructive phase. So the time period for constructive phase is 1859 to 1900, and the next time period till now. Okay. So till now we are having this phase, and this is called as the evaluative. This is called as the evaluative phase also. This is basically called as the evaluative phase. Fine. Okay. Now let's move forward. So the very first part, that is the formulatory phase. In the formulatory phase, we saw the contribution of different anthropologies. So in the formulatory phase, some anthropologists or sociologists, they were forming the nature of the anthropology as a subject. So for that, they gave their different contribution. They gave their different verdict. So in this way, there are some person like this. This was the period before anthropology was becoming a formal science. So during that time period, people, they started getting awareness about different cultures, like how they were doing it. Information from one area to another area, sharing was there, but that sharing was not systematic. The sharing was not scientific. First thing. Second, the traveler, the explorer, the missionaries, the traders, they described different cultures. So they were talking about different parts of the culture. Their focus, it was on the some strange customs or some different lifestyles. Like try to understand the foreign travelers. So the foreign travelers before 1835, I'm talking about the time period when India was a colony, and we were not independent. So during that time period, there was a culture where travelers used to travel in different countries. Like if I'm talking about Hyun Sang or Fahan, so they were the one who got interest into the Buddhism, and they came to India. They gathered so many of the details from here, and they returned back to their area. So this is what? This is basically anthropology only, where the people, they are coming to one area, they are trying to understand about their culture, and when they are trying to understand about their culture, this is what? This is all about the field work. Field work means you are visiting any area and getting aware about their culture. So the things we found the things they were available earlier also. But then what happened is, in the formulating phase, we started collecting all those studies. We started getting awareness that when you are trying to understand about the culture of another countries or about another areas, another region, it means you are trying to study about the human being, about their lifestyle, about their customs, about their life form, everything. So, in this part, for the very first time, the Aristotle, Strabo, the Plato, they are the one who recognize that if you are the one who are visiting any area, studying about the human being, it means you are someone called as the anthropologist, or maybe you are the someone who gossip about the human being because you are studying them. So that's what they said, that this should be recognized as a separate field. So here the Herodotus, he was called as the father of history. Why? Because he described the different people. He described the people of one area, they are different from the another area, and why this difference exists. So Herodotus, he basically explained about that people of different region, they may be having some racial differences. So he was not like he was not using the word racial, but he was talking about that there are some person like anthropologists who are going to a different place, different areas, region, and studying about the human being. So he described those person as a separate anthropologist, and when he explained them as a separate anthropologist, it means he was talking about that these anthropologists, they are the one who are considered as separate field or separate human being. I hope you are able to understand. Let me explain again. Herodotus, he basically was a person called as the father of history. Okay. Okay, he was the one who is being considered as the father of history. Now, why he is being called as the father of history? Because he was the one who's important precursor of anthropology as a field. And in his field, he described about the human being. He described about the different people and different culture. So, what he did is, he traveled extensively and he recorded the information about various societies. What he did, he compared the customs of the Egyptian, the Greek, the Scythians, the Persians, and he explained about them. He explained about their belief system, their culture, their habits, their lifestyle, everything about them. And then he provided the ethnographic description. So in the ethnographic description, he explained about their daily life, their religion, their practices, their food habits, everything. And then he basically specified that there are different culture, culture difference. And then he combined his all studies, he combined all the travel observation, and that's how he provided a full-fledged study. And that full-fledged study is considered as a base for the modern anthropology. Fine? Okay. So, step by step, first, he traveled. Second, he studied. The area where he traveled, he studied about their culture, life form, lifestyle. Okay. And when he did that, he prepared proper text. And based upon the text, he compared different societies. And when he was comparing the different societies, he said that there are differences between the Egyptians, Persians, Scythians and Greeks. This is what he said. And based upon his study, he basically did what? He formalized the study of human. Like before that, people were also studying the human, but not in this way, not in this detailed way. So that's why Herodotus is called as the father of history, and his contribution is being considered as under the stages of development of anthropology. So formalize the study of anthropology. Fine. So this is what we are having related to the Herodotus. Anji, do one thing, like reserve one page for this diagram. On the next page, write down Herodotus first stage and write it down. Anji, done? Shall I proceed further? Anji, done with the part? Shall I proceed further? So Herodotus, he was also being given the name proto-anthropologist. Why? Because he was the earliest anthropologist. Anthropologists, they are the one who are studying about the human being, and he is being considered as the proto-anthropologist, the earliest anthropologist. Fine. Okay. So now, here what we are going to do, here we are just going to write down his name, Herodotus. Because he was the one, the earliest contributor of the anthropology. Then the next person related to this study was the Strabo. So Strabo, he was also contributed for the study of the anthropologists. So now let's understand the contribution of the Strabo. Here what we are going to do is, here we are only going to write down the name Strabo. And let's do the contribution of Strabo. So Strabo, he was a basically Greek geographer or historian. So geographer, they are the one who are studying about a particular geography. So for that, quite possible, they are having possibility they can travel. They can travel from one area to another area. So he was not particularly anthropologist because he was not interested about their culture but about their geography. And related to the geography, he explained that in this geography, this is the climate, this is the atmosphere, and this is how the people they are having their living conditions. Fine. Okay. So now just try to understand. The people who are living in the coastal area, just tell me, people who are living in the coastal area, what kind of life they are having, what kind of atmosphere, lifestyle they are having, just tell me. Anji, tell me what kind of lifestyle the people who are living in the coastal area they are having. Different from the area. Anji, Grace, Rohan, you are not answering. Okay, see, the people who are living in the coastal area, they are basically having proximity with the brackish water, and along with the brackish water, they are also having direct sunlight penetration. So because of that, their melanin production would be more, and to keep their skin uh, safe from or protected from the sunlight, so their skin texture would be dark, some sort of solid harsh, and their skin color would be dark. So this is one of the thing. Other than this, they would be having some thick everted lips also. That is a kind of adaptation strategy. I will explain you further in the further studies. Okay, and their diet pattern, their diet would include more liquid content, like because evaporation is more, sweating is more, so their diet would be liquid more. Then the some sort of dry fruits, or some sort of the warm food. So they would avoid the warm food. They would be having the food which will provide them soothness and having so much of the water content. So this is the kind of lifestyle they would have. So this is again the Strabo did. So Strabo, as I have told you, he was basically a Greek philosopher. So who basically traveled from one area to another area because he was a geographer and historians. So Strabo, he was not directly classified as anthropologist. Now what Strabo did? Strabo, he basically went to the different areas, like he went to Africa, to Asia, to America. He went to the different region. Uh, Specifically, he was not talking about any certain country. He was talking about a certain continent. Why? Because his objective was not to explain about the culture, but to tell relationship between the environment and the culture. He said that the environment influenced the human culture and the behavior, and this is his contribution for anthropologists. As I have told you, he was not very much curious about the culture, but he was very much curious about the impact of the environment upon any other another in any another community or their culture or their lifestyle. So what we can explain here is that Strabo, he mentioned about, like, he traveled to different region, like he went to America, Asia and Africa, and there studied about impact of environment, climate, atmosphere on culture, behavior, human culture and human behavior. This is the contribution of the Strabo. Exactly, Grace. They will have a seafood diet. So he is being considered as one of the founder of the human geography. He studied about the human interact with the physical environment, like how human they used to interact with the physical environment. So therefore we can see that his anthropological studies, they are one of the earliest study about the culture and ecology. So mention his study earliest description of culture and ecology. Anji, this red color different description that I am providing you, this is what we are going to use in the unit 6. And keep it, we will be using it there also. Okay, mention it in this way only. Keep it, we are going to use it. So the Strabo, he gave the book Geographica and the book is having the 17 volume, and he explained about all this part. Fine. So write it down, the Strabo, mention him. This is his contribution. So it was not so much, but still as a part of the formulation we can say that yes, he gave the birth to a certain branch. Like for example, in the unit 9.7 we are going to study ecological anthropology. That is part of biological anthropology, the physical anthropology. So this branch ecological anthropology, we can say it is due to the contribution of Strabo, because Strabo was the one who first conceptualized having the environment effect on the human culture and behavior. And that's what we can see, that in the higher altitude people, they are having a different lifestyle. The people living in the deserty area, they are having a different lifestyle. Their clothing pattern, their diet pattern, all are different. So that's what you can understand Strabo, because he was a geographer. He studied the different areas, their culture, their living conditions, and that's what he provided us in terms of a study. So his study was earliest basis for the formulation of the anthropology. Fine. So this is again you can understand. Now here we are basically mentioning about the Strabo. Now next person that we are having is the Aristotle. So the Aristotle, he explained about having the social theory for the human being. So Aristotle is being considered as the father of like anthropology. Why? Because he was the one who gave the concept that human, they are the social animal, and human or the men cannot live in isolation. Because men cannot live in isolation, that's why he basically explained about that, because human being, they cannot live in isolation, therefore we require culture, we require society, therefore we require a union like marriage, we require the union like a family. So this is what we basically requires. Then Haji, next, the fourth person that we can call as the earliest one in terms of the anthropology was the Lucretus. Okay, now let's study about him. Okay, so he was basically a Greek philosopher. So earliest he was talking about all those person, but later on he got recognition as a kind of a philosopher and like a poet when he basically provided his book or his poetry combination in terms of de rem natura. So he was later on being classified as a Roman philosopher. Why? Because his poet, like he's being considered as a poet, and his poetry in the Roman, that was being recognized by the whole community. Fine. So he was not an anthropologist, but his point of view gave us the formulation to frame the anthropology. Now, what are the point of view he was having related to this part? So he basically explained about that human society, it developed gradually over the time. भैया आई थिंक वॉइस नहीं जा रही है. हाँ जी, एम आई ऑडिबल नाउ? ठीक है अभी? ठीक है. Okay, so he basically being considered as the earliest one who studied about the culture. So he mentioned about that in the different areas, different civilization appeared, quite possible at the same time, or quite possible one after the another. Like, try to understand, Mesopotamia considered as the cradle of civilization, means the first civilization, whereas the most urbanized civilization till now is considered as the Indus Valley civilization. So Indus Valley civilization was during the Mesopotamian civilization also, but it was developed much more than this. So that's what we can basically conclude, that different civilization, they developed at different time period, but they were having some sort of consistency. They were being developed. Okay, so this is what you can understand. So Lucretius, that you can mention about him, he was a Roman philosopher. And being a Roman philosopher, he basically explained about the different civilizations and their developing pattern. Like how they developed, over a period of time, in what way they are basically being specified. So he, what they said that that the life for the foundation for scientific explanation of the human development, means they argued that there is a naturalistic explanation of the human life. Human, they are being developed naturally and in the most humanistic way. Means we are not talking about an artificial part. Like there is a certain time period of 9 months, and once the child will get birth, there is a certain time period. See, more or less all the people, they will learn the thing at the same time. Like you will start walking when you are around 12 to 13 months. You will start speaking when you are around 2.5 years old. So these are the pattern that we are having. And in this pattern, they are talking about having the foundation for the scientific explanation of the human life. And this is what Lucretius, he explained. He said that in the different civilization, people may be different, but more or less their learning abilities, their life pattern, that is at the same stage. Even if you are living in Asia or even if you are living in America, the child will take 9 months to take birth. Whether in the Africa, whether in the Asia, whether in the America. So this is what he talked about. He said that there are different life form, but the pattern for the development of this life form is similar for all the communities. So that's what he basically explained about the scientific explanation. Means if the people in the Asia, they are having separate gene, but they are having 23 pair of chromosome. People in the America, they may have separate gene, but again they are also having 23 pair of chromosome. So this is what they basically explain. So he mentioned about the foundation for a scientific explanation. So he mentioned foundation for scientific explanation of human development. This is what Lucretius explained, and his stages of culture development, his stages of human being passing through different stages. This is what provided base to the other anthropologists. Like what? Lucretius, he suggested that human, they passes through different stages. Like what? First, like let me explain here the stages of human development. What he explained. Stages of human development. Okay, first he said that there is primitive hunting. In the earliest time period, people, they were engaged into the hunting, and their hunting, it was primitive. Means whether they are taking up some weapons using, like they are making them using the stones, or they are based upon the wood or something. So the first part is primitive hunting, or maybe gathering from the forest itself. Second part. Other than the primitive hunting, they were dependent upon the fire. So they started developing the fire. So the stage is hunting. After the hunting, there is fire. So there was no such evidences find out where people earlier depended upon the fire and now the hunting. So here is development of fire. Once they are developed with the fire, then there is a development of the language. Means now every single civilization, when they are developing, they started feeling the need to know some certain language. Then there is development of language. After the development of language, they started developing the families, because now they can frame the association. Now they can communicate. Now they also feel the need to share their thoughts. So for that, they require someone to be there, and they do not require any temporary relationship. They require the permanent relationship, and for that, they started developing families. Development of families and communities. Once they are developed with the families, now they want something permanent, a permanent livelihood. If not livelihood, a permanent source, so that they can eat or they can take care of their family. So for that, they started developing the agriculture. So then there is agriculture. See, the process of agriculture, it was not deliberate. It was something that happened. Like they were eating some of the food, some of the fruits or the vegetable, and accidentally they put the seeds, there was water, and they noticed that a plant was coming from that seed, and they planted it and they nurtured it. They find out that this is one of the way to get the food, and that would be their own food, or they can control over the resources. So that's what they said. So this is basically they developed in terms of agriculture. and at last agriculture, families, everything, it leads to the development of the art, technology and civilization. So later on, next part is development of civilization. This is very important. Now we are going to use it for the unit 6, because in the unit 6 there is going to be, like, I will be taking the name of two person. Remember this, I will be taking the name of two person, E.B. Taylor, L.H. Morgan. E.B. Taylor and L.H. Morgan, they are the two person who were using the explanation given by the Lucretus. The E.B. Taylor, L.H. Morgan. L.H. Morgan will give name to them. Savagery, barbarism, civilization. Remember this, I will use it. Fine. So unit 6, L.H. Morgan and E.B. Taylor used this. And we are also going to refer him. So this is very important. Are you done? Okay. So this was basically the contribution of the anthropologist for the formulating phase. The next part is basically the convergent phase, where the study of the different field is converging itself into the anthropology to serve the purpose. So here in this part we are going to mention about the convergence. So for the first convergence that we are having in this part is, like, we started having a systematic development. Systematic development is in terms of the Renaissance. Like, for example, there was a time period of the Industrial Revolution. So there was two basic need that we felt during the Industrial Revolution. First, to find the market where we can get the raw material. Second, to find the market where we can dump their manufactured product. So for these two things, the Europeans, they started exploring the areas for getting the raw material and for dumping their final product, their final goods. So for that, they started exploring the areas. They started traveling. They went to the different areas. In different areas, they went to the different people, and they introduced with a different culture. And this complete process that lead to the introduction of the one culture with the another culture, to get awareness about the culture. And here they basically, the Europeans, they originated a very important concept. Remember the name I will use for unit 2.1, ethnocentrism. So I am again repeating, ethnocentrism, when you consider your own culture as the supreme one. So this is what they explain about. So here in this part, when we are converging from one phase to another phase, that convergence is due to the Industrial Revolution, and that conversion due to the Renaissance. And that conversion due to the Industrial Revolution. And that conversion is due to the systematic development. And other than this, we are also converging the study for the anthropology from different streams. And when we are converging it from the different streams, we find out that there was one person, Auguste Comte. He basically gave his book, and he gave the term sociology. He coined the term sociology, and sociology basically became the base for creating the socio-cultural approach for anthropology. So that's what we can say, that we find out the converging phase. Now, next part that we are going to specify about the constructive phase. So in the constructive phase, actually we find out some construction for the study of anthropology. Here we were giving some reference of anthropology. Here we trying to converge the other studies into the anthropology. Here is the part, constructive phase is the part where actually we started developing the anthropology, started constructing it as a separate field. Or I can say constructive phase is the one where we can say that this is the anthropology. Fine. So in this part, in the constructive phase, we find out that there was a one person, his name was Charles Darwin. I hope you must have aware of his name, Charles Darwin. Anji, have you heard his name? So Charles Darwin, he gave the reference in terms of a separate study on the origin of the species by means of the natural selection. On the origin of species in the name of natural selection. Okay, so this is what Charles Darwin he provided, and in his study, he basically explained about the two theories related to the like sociology, related to the development of anthropology, where he mentioned that either we are having organic theory, either we are having a cultural contact theory. Fine. So the Charles Darwin he explained about, see, later on we are going to study that anthropology, it was as a brainchild of Charles Darwin or it was before that. This is what we are going to explain. But here we can write down that construction is because of the Charles Darwin. He conceptualized a theory about the human genetics. And when we are talking about human genetics, we are saying that biologically we are giving them separate recognition. Fine. Okay. So next part that we are going to study here is that anthropology, it got recognition in the Oxford, and like anthropology, it got placed in the Oxford due to the effort of the E.B. Taylor, L.H. Morgan. Remember the name? E.B. Taylor and L.H. Morgan, who took inspiration from the Lucretus, who provided the stages, as I told you. I will further explain them in the unit 6. But here in the constructive phase, try to understand what he did is, as a constructive phase, like anthropology got placed as separate field due to effort of, and the name with the green color, E.B. Taylor and L.H. Morgan. Okay, so this was all about the constructive phase. Now, next part is critical phase. So, in the critical phase, in the evaluative phase, we started criticizing the anthropology if it is not progressing, and we started getting the evaluation of the different studies. So, for the evaluative phase, we are basically talking about the field study. So in this part, we are going to give a reference to the different anthropologists. Like for example, there was the Redcliffe Brown. So the Redcliffe Brown, he went to the Andaman and Nicobar Island and he did the field study there. And his field study is helping us to know about the culture of the Andaman and Nicobar Islander tribes. And we are trying to understand about the environment impact, the culture impact, their behavior, their lifestyle, everything. So here we are going to talk about proper field study, field work. And there, in terms of example, we can write down the Radcliffe Brown. And we can so Radcliffe Brown studied about Andaman and Nicobar Island. And he studied about them. Okay, and there was B. Malinowski also, who basically went to the Trobriand Island and studied there. So there we can give example of the anthropologist and their field study. So we can write down the B. Malinowski and his study about the Trobriand Island. Okay, so this is all about the origin and the development of anthropology as a separate field. So this is what you need to do. Hanji, done with this part? Able to understand everything? Having any doubt related to any part, you can tell me. Hanji, done? Okay, so like the topic was origin and development of anthropology. For the topic, we prepared this. For this part, as I told you, I will be providing you dictation. For the dictation, I asked you to write it down. Hanji, done with this part? Herodotus, Strabo, Lucretus. I will also provide this PPT. Okay, the first PPT and this PPT I will combine and will provide one PPT for the unit 1.1. Now, let's talk about the next topic, and the next topic is about the different views on the origin of anthropology. And this is about the Darwinism and colonialism. Okay. So when we are saying that there is a development of anthropology, remember there was the third stage, the constructive stage, and in the constructive phase we are talking about the contribution of Charles Darwin, and I told you that he was the one who gave some details about the origin of the species, and the origin of the species, for that we are saying that he was the one who explained about the human genetics. Now, some person they were saying that anthropology it arises because of the Darwin. Whereas some are saying the Darwin is not the only one who conceptualized the anthropology. Anthropology exists before the contribution of Darwin. So there are different views on the origin of anthropology, that is it due to Darwin or is it because of the another reasons. Fine, okay. Now you can answer it perfectly. Why? Because you know when you did the stages, you wrote the Darwin name at the third stage. It means before Darwin there were some contribution and there were some anthropologists who explained about it, right? Okay. Now we are going to talk about that part only. Now, the first part that we are going to do is the Darwin's influence. So there was one British anthropologist and his name was R.R. Merritt. So R.R. Merritt, he said that anthropology is the child of Darwin because Darwin explained about the theory. That's how construction of anthropology happened. But later on there was debate which were saying that no, Darwin was not the one. Why? Because they said that Darwin theory of evolution, it was inspired by the earlier social ideas. Why? Because Malthus, he was an economist, he explained about the theory of population. and in the population we are studying about human being itself. So they said that the theory of the population, the explanation of the population where we categorize the population, it was already there. And the Darwin, he took inspiration from that categorization, and among the population he explained about the gene or the human genetics. This is what they said. Whereas before the Darwin, there was a foundation of anthropology exist. So Darwin, he shaped the anthropology in the required, but he was not the one who created it. This is the first explanation that we are having about the Darwin. Okay, so you just write down heading different views on the origin of anthropology. Different views on the origin of anthropology. Different views on the origin of anthropology. There mentioned Darwinism and colonialism. Then write down Darwinism influence. Write down Darwinism influence. And for the Darwinism influence, then mention British anthropologist R.R. Merritt. British anthropologist R.R. Merritt said anthropology is a child of Darwin's theory. Is a child of Darwin's theory, but this was not accepted. By the earliest anthropologists. By the earliest anthropologist. Now write down the criticism of this view. Criticism of this view. Write down Darwin's view were inspired from Thomas Malthus and his population theory. Next write down Darwin shaped anthropology. But did not create it, but did not create it. Okay, so that's again the part of the Darwin and Darwin influence. Now heading towards the next part. See, in the Darwin theory, what he explained is they were basically talking about that there are some like chances that we can say survival of the fittest. Means if you are having more healthy gene, or if you are having more healthy conditions which can favor you, then your population will flourish. So in this part you can understand, you can clearly find out the picture. In the first picture you can find out that there is more population of the white mice comparative to the dark mice, the black mice. Now black mice, as having some sort of similarities with the base, they are having more chances not to be noticed by the predator. Therefore later on you will find out that some mice, they are eaten by the birds, but which mice they are having more tendency to be noticed by the predator, that's the white mice. So the white mice, they are being like white mice, they are being noticed and they are being eaten by the birds, the predators. As soon as the white mice, they are being targeted, the black mice, they will be having the conducive environment to multiply themselves. And that's what you can see here. You can find out later on the black mice, they are increasing their number comparative to the white mice. So this is what you can understand. Okay, fine. Now, second aspect that we are heading toward is, because we were doing the different views on the origin of origin of the anthropology. So here the first view we are done with the Darwin. Second we are doing is colonialism. In the colonialism, during the Industrial Revolution, Europe, there was needed the raw material. As I told you, there was Renaissance, and there were two reasons. First, they exploring the market for getting the raw material at the right time, at the right price, whereas second, they want the new market where they can dump their final goods, where they can provide their manufactured goods. So that's what they did. As a role of colonialism during the Industrial Revolution, it led to the exploration of the different regions. And as a result of this, what they did is they went to the different areas. They became they basically turned into the missionaries. So what they did is, they, as a part of the different culture, they are going towards, like for example, in India, you know very well that the Portuguese, then the Dutch, then there was from the England, the people like English, then the French, and then the Danes, Dutch. They were having the target to turn the Indians or the people of the different regions into their own culture. Means they just having one idea, Christian missionaries. So they were acting like a Christian missionaries, and they were converting the people of different region into their own region. That was their own objective. So that's what here you can find out as a role of colonialism, because they were having different objectives. So first, related to the Industrial Revolution. Second, because they consider their culture is the supreme one. Remember I told you one term, ethnocentrism. So the European people, they were ethnocentric. They consider their own culture as the supreme one. Therefore their objective was missionaries. So they were collecting the detailed reports, they were changing them. So that's what we can say. Colonialism, it led to the study of different culture and gathering the data in the same form. And when they are gathering the data, then it leads to the preparation of the reports, preparation of the articles, preparation of the book, and all these things they provided basis for forming the new stream, that is anthropology. Fine. So that sounds much better, role of colonialism. Okay, so write down the second part, role of colonialism. Role of colonialism. So write down, during the Industrial Revolution, during the Industrial Revolution, Europe, 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 Europe needed more raw material. Europe needed more raw material and markets. उसमें टाइमर लगा होगा ना, आप रिमोट ले लीजिए. So Europeans needed more. Here is the remote. Europeans needed more raw material and the markets which led to exploration of regions like Africa, Asia and America. They encountered different people. Culture and different environment. Fine. So this is what we were having related to the role of colonialism. So let's try to understand. Okay, so this is the index that we were having. The first part, the stages of the development done. This is what I will be providing you in terms of a table. Different views on the origin of anthropology, that is also done. Now we are left with this part, the reason for the slow growth of anthropology. So now let's do this part. Okay, frame this diagram also. Industrial revolution create a need for the new market, the raw material sources that move out to other areas, Africa, America, Asia, and it results into the cultural contact, which is called as the formalization of anthropology. Okay, so frame this diagram. This is the additional diagram that would help you to understand the colonialism. So frame this. Anji, done with this part? Shall we proceed further? Anji, done? Okay. Next part and the last part for this unit, it is the reason for the slow growth of anthropology. Okay. So anthropology, it took more than 100 years to get recognition as a separate subject. 100 years, it means it's a very big time period, it's a very long time period that we can understand. But why it was very slow in terms of a growth? See, there are multiple reasons. So here we are going to have 9 to 10 reasons for the same. So the first reason that we are having a slow growth for anthropology, it was lack of the vision. Like earlier, we were doing the things, but we were not aware of that it should be get recognition as a separate subject. Like first one, lack of vision on the part of the Europeans. See, European, they are the one who first initiated to travel to the different areas, to communicate, to get studies, different aspects, but they were not having vision. They were not aware of that they are preparing for a separate subject, and they were not aware of that they should get this subject recognized as a separate subject. So that was, they were in terms of lack of vision. Second, there was homogeneity. Homogeneity means, as I told you, we were not thinking that having a separate subject for human being. Why? Because in history we were studying about the ancient part, the excavation, the archaeological aspect. We were talking about the language aspect there. In the sociology, in the philosophy, we are talking, or in the psychology, talking about the social culture aspect, the mind related aspect, logical reasoning, the creating aspect. So in the medical science, life science, we were talking about biological aspect. So we were not aware of, we don't even need it. Fine. Next, all the remotely located societies which were not sharing their fundamental cultural values to the European, hardly they deserve to be regarded as a human being. Like for example, the tribal people, they were not even being recognized by the Europeans as human being. Why? Because according to the European, these are not living like human. They were having animal like instinct. They were dependent upon hunting. They were dependent upon the grazing. They were dependent upon such kind of thing. So this is why it is being considered as that anthropology. It could, why? Because anthropology means studying the different culture. Means moreover, for us, the purpose for the study is going to be the tribes. That's going to be the tribals only. And tribals, they were not ready. There is a language barrier. Another thing, they were not ready to introduce their culture. Like for example, during the colonialism, there was H. Risley, one anthropologist. He studied about the different races of the human being. Like he really wanted to know in India what kind of gene and racial differences exist. Like if you will go to the south, you will find out the people having the short height, dark complexion, broad nose, thick averted lips. Whereas when you will go to the North India, the Rajasthan, Gujarat or Punjab region, there you can find out the pointed nose, the fairer skin, the taller height. Whereas if you will go to the Northeast India, there you can find out their flat face, their apicanthal eyes, their pale skin, there no hair on their face or body. So these are the differences. So he noticed the same, and he went for the study. But you will wonder, majority of the people, they really don't wanted themselves to be a subject for his study. Why? Because there was a trust issues. They consider that these Britishers will gather our data, and they will going to affect them, and they are going to take them out from this area. They will evacuate their area. They are going to encroach their land. So that's why they were reluctant to share their details. That was one of the major reason for the slow growth of anthropology. Next is anthropological studies. They were often conducted by colonial administrator, and they were reluctant. Like people, they were not having trust. Next, the exploitation of the studied population. They created ethical concern, and they hampered the relationship between the researcher and the subject. Means sometimes the population, they feel that their data could be used. Like for example, now census are being conducted. Just tell me, the census people, they visited your area, yes or no? They came to your area, they visited your area, so they must be gathering some information. So people, they are sometimes not telling them right information, sometimes, because people think that quite possible they will let us suppose the people who are conducting the census, they are asking for that do you have a fridge, do you have laptop, do you have mobile phone, there's a toilet in your home. So some people deliberately, in the rural area, majority of the people, they used to tell a lie, no, we are not having toilet. So they are thinking that the government will provide them the money or compensation to create the toilet or something like that. So this is the view. Means sometimes due to the fear of the exploitation, people are not telling them the right information, and that's what happened in case of anthropology. So people, they feel that I wanted to show my culture in a very fancify format. So they are not telling the bad things about their culture. So that's one of the reason. Now, language barrier, the cultural misunderstanding, the logistic challenges. Now that it's so easy. Logistically, it's so easy that you can commute from one area to another. But in the previous time period, that was not so much easy. There was so many language barrier. There was so many logistic barrier. So many things was there. Fine. Okay. So you just now write down the heading, reason for the slow growth of anthropology. Write down the first one. Lack of vision. Lack of vision on the part of Europeans. Lack of vision on the part of Europeans to recognize the similarities to recognize the similarities in physical and cultural aspect, in physical and cultural aspect with the non-white. With the non-white. Next, second one. Ethnocentric. Second one. Ethnocentric view. Ethnocentric view of Europeans ethnocentric views of Europeans about other cultures. Next, third, write down. Lack of trust of people, lack of trust of people to share data. Lack of trust of people to share data. Next, fourth one. Exploitation of studied population. Exploitation of studied population. Next, exploitation of studied population. Next, language barrier, logistic challenges, and cultural misunderstanding. And cultural misunderstanding. So again, language barrier, logistic challenges, and cultural misunderstanding. Next, what kind of challenges they were having? See, try to understand here. They were not having any tools, technologies. Like now, they are having so many tools, technology. In the earlier time period, they were either having one diary, that is all to record. For recording, they were not having any such program. They can do the video recording, or they were having something that they can create the pictures, but that was also not so much handy for them to have it. So there was lack of tools, and anthropology is all about traveling to the areas, gathering the data about their culture. So it's all about gathering the data, and they were not having any mechanism. Rather than just writing it down, just pointing it down, they were not having another material. Fine. So that was one of the reason for the slow growth. Another reason, there was interdisciplinary nature. So I'm not going to repeat it again. The nature of anthropology is having overlapping with the other different parts. So that was also one of the reason. Next, anthropologists struggle to gain recognition, and it is often considered peripheral to the other social sciences. Like it is being considered as having the overlapping or similar to the different part. Shortage of funding and institutional support, that also hamper the development, and there is a lack of advanced technology. So these things, like, they were basically leading to the reason for the slow growth of the anthropology. So here, write it down. Write it down, lack of technological tools, lack of technological tools, quantitative data, quantitative data. Next, interdisciplinary nature. Next, interdisciplinary nature. Next, shortage of funding and institutional support. Shortage of funding and institutional support. Next, lack of advanced technology. Lack of advanced technology for recording, analyzing, and sharing data. And sharing data. Fine. So that's how we are basically done with this part. Now, what is the role of anthropology in the contemporary India? This part I am going to provide you with the unit 1.3. This is something in terms of a value addition, and this is what I will be providing you with the unit 1.3. In the unit 1.3, majorly I will provide you the current data, because then we will be specifying with some certain, like for the unit 1.1 again I am having current data, but deliberately I am not putting it here. I will be providing you the same with the unit 1.3. So what we are going to do is, tomorrow we will start 1.3 first, then we will do the unit 1.2. Okay. So tomorrow we are going to do with the unit 1.3, and once we are done with the unit 1.3, then we'll start with the unit 1.2. Fine. Okay. Now as we are done with this part, now let me provide you the basic conclusion. So conclusion means, like anthropology, it offers the insights into the biological, cultural, social dimension of the human existence. Its relevance, it extends beyond the academics into addressing the real world challenges like the tribal welfare, health disparities, gender issues, cultural integration, and everything. Fine. So this is the conclusion. So just write it down as it is. Write it down as it is in these words only. Are you done? Done with this part? Okay. Now I'm going to provide you some tips for the answer writing, and this is going to be your first session for the answer writing. Later on, I feel you do not need any sort of sessions for the answer writing and all. Uh, Later on, you are just going to have the test, and I have already told you the dates also, and the time and the part also. Fine, as you know, it's basically part of our schedule. Okay, now let me basically provide you the overview of the mains exam, the optional exam. So you know very well, basically you are having anthro paper 1 and anthro paper 2. In the anthro paper 1 again 250 marks, anthro paper 2 again 250 marks. Now the duration for the same is 3 hours. So you know very well 1 hour 60 minutes. So in total you would be having, like, it is basically 3 hours. So you are having 180 minutes. Fine. In the total exam, many of you would be aware of that the exam used to be for like around 28 questions. So the 28 questions, they are divided into two sections. So there is section A and section B. Okay, now both the sections, they consist of equal number of questions. In total you will get 28 questions, but out of 28 questions you just need to attempt 19. Fine. Okay, now in the section A, the question number 1, it would be compulsory. This compulsory question would consist of 5 questions: A, B, C, D, E. There is no choice. Each question will consist of 10 marks. So that is compulsory one. The section B, again it will consist of, like, this is the 5th question. Again this is also compulsory question. It will also consist of 10 marker. Okay, this is the section A and section B. So there is no such choice. 50 marks means compulsory, and 50 marks again compulsory. See, I am not going to prepare test in this format. Your full length, if I would be taking NA, so full length is going to be in this format. This is what I am telling you, the paper pattern. Paper pattern for the mains. Fine? Okay, now. Then we are having question number 2, question number 3 and question number 4. Here we are going to have the question number 6, question number 7 and question number 8. Each and every question, they will be having 3 subset, means 2A, 2B, 2C. Again 3A, 3B, 3C. 4 also 4A, B, C. Okay, this is the pattern now. In each and every question, the question number A used to be a 20 marker question. B and C, they are 15 marker. So again here also going to be 20, 15, 15, 20, 15, 15. Here also 20 marker, 15 marker and 15 marker, 20, 15, 15, 20 marker, 15 marker and again 15 marker. This is the basic pattern. Now, the question number 1 is compulsory, there is no such choice. The question number 5 is again compulsory, no choice. Total marks used to be given by the UPSC is 250 marks. So 50 plus 50, 100 marks done, and there is no choice for 100 marks. Now left with 150. 150 means 3 set of question. Each set consists of what? Each set consists of 50 mark. 20 plus 15 plus 15, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. So each part consists of 50. Now you are left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of these 6 set, you have to choose 3 set. Okay, but you cannot do this thing that you are choosing all the 3 set from one section only. At least you need to choose one set from each section. Like for example, question number 2 or question number 7 or question number 4. Let us suppose you are choosing this. Then 100 marks done here, 50 plus 50, 100 plus 50, 150. So that's what in total you have to choose 5 set. Each set consists of 50 marks. So if I have to conclude, then in the total paper you have to choose 10 question, 10 marker. So it will be around 100 marks. Then you have to choose 3 question, 20 marker, and it will consist of 60 marks. And 6 question out of total you have to choose for 15 marks, and it is around 90 marks. And that's how total 250 marks would be here. Now let me tell you again, there is no such choice that you will choose this 15 marker from here, 20 marker from here, 15 from here. No, you have to choose one set, and in one set there would be one 20 marker question and two the 15 marker question. Hanji, having any doubt? Hanji, till now having any doubt? Okay, so this is the mechanism. Now let's talk about the words. How many words you have to write down under under one question. So 10 marker question, how many questions you have to attempt? 10 questions, each question 150 word. So total you have to write down 1500 words. 3 question, 20 marker, 350 words. So you have to write down 1050 words for 20 marker question. Let me write down here marks also. 20 mark, this is 10 mark, 20 mark, 15 marker. There would be 6 questions, and 6 question 250 words. That is 1500 words again. To me 6. Yes, 1500. So out of total, you just need to write down 4050 words, something like 4000 to 4050 words for the complete paper. Now talking about the time. See, as per the basic mechanism, you can devote 7 minutes. I'm not saying for the very first time you are supposed to write or you are supposed to complete it within the 15 or the time that I'm telling you. You don't need to complete it within the same time, but there is an expectation. So 10 marker, 10 question, each question 7 minutes. It means 70 minutes done. Now 3 question, they are basically 20 marker, and for a 20 marker question you can devote around 14 minutes for one question. So 42 minutes done. Now for a 15 marker question you need to give 11 minutes or something, and 6 question you are writing 66 minutes. So if I'm totaling them, it's around 178 minutes. And how much time I was having? 180 minutes. So happily you will be having 2 minutes. So what to do in this 2 minutes? 2-minute noodles. Make Maggie and eat it and make your mind cool. See, most important thing, not to make your mind cool or to eat Maggie, but to use this 2 minutes judiciously. How? Very first thing that you need to do, have the right choice. Many of the students, see, I have mentored thousands of students, and some things that I had basically analyzed is either they are not choosing the right set, or either they are not able to complete the paper on time. This year also I can show you multiple of the messages I basically received for those students who were not able to clear the mains last year, and the reason for not clearing the mains, that was only because they were not getting good marks or in the paper 1, specifically because paper 1 was also not that much, like I would say that was not so much scoring. It was scoring, but there is not much scope to do. So the people who will do so much of Excel, like there is a line, who will do above the line, they will get more marks. See, now what to do in this 2 minutes? As soon as you will get the paper, even they used to provide the paper before, like 5 minutes before also, but depends. See, my experience is it depends upon center to center. Somewhere they provide or somewhere they don't provide, so we cannot depend upon them. What we need to do, for the very first thing, we just need to read each and every line, words, sentence, everything of the paper. Do not read it in hurry, because one wrong choice means all the questions, all the marks, they are in the vain. So the one thing that you need to do is, you just need to use that 2 minutes judiciously. No need to read the question number 1 and 5. Read the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you know average about all the 3 questions, choose that set. If you know 2 questions very well, but you are unaware of the 3rd question, do not choose that set. Okay, so your choice matters. Your marks in the mains matters, like in optional, depends upon the choice, as well as if you are able to complete it on time. Fine. So this is what you need to do. So that's how the basic pattern is related to the exam. Now let me tell you how you should frame the introduction. This is basically, see, I'm not expecting you on the very first day when you will be writing, so your time would be same, 7 minutes, 14 minutes, 11 minutes. For the very first time, do not chase the time limit. If you are able to complete your question in 30 minutes, in 25 minutes, do it. For the very first time, I just wanted you to understand the demand of the question and to replicate it. I don't want you to be excel or to achieve this time limit. See, gradually we will improve. We will improve gradually. Okay, now let me explain you the basic pattern of the question. Now, what I'm explaining here is about a 15 marker question. That's basically middle. I'm not explaining about 10 or 20. I'm explaining about a 15 marker. That's how you can create association. Fine. Okay. Every single person who's doing the answer writing the test, they have to write it on the UPSC based that booklet itself. Fine. Okay. So that booklet is having, so if you know, that booklet is having this phenomena. So even if you are not having it, then see and create the lines and write them. Every single person, on the very first day I am saying, no compromise with the answer writing, no compromise with the proper pattern. No one is going to write down the test or the answer on a line wala paper. No one. I am not going to allow. Okay. Fine. Now there they used to write down the question. So for a 15 marker, you will get 3 pages. For a 20 marker, 4 and 5 pages, but usually we can write only 4 pages. Hypothetically, you can say 5 pages. Or for a 10 marker, 1.5 pages you should write, but you will get 2 pages. Okay. 15 marker, complete 3 pages. Now, the pattern should be like this. Here you are about to write introduction. Now, the thing is, do not use the word introduction. Here I am writing it down because I wanted to mention, but do not use the word introduction specially. Fine. Just just start with it. Write it down. Just start with it like this. So introduction, that should be only 3 to 4 lines, not more than that. Introduction should be in terms of a 3 to 4 lines, not more than that. Next thing, introduction should always be in the paragraph form. Do not use 2 paras, do not use bullet points, do not use any diagrams, nothing. It should be in terms of a para. Para should consist of 3 to 4 lines, no double para, nothing. Fine. Now, what are the different types of the introduction? See, your introduction, it could be into 4 types. Now it depends upon you, as per the demand of the question, which one you feel is the appropriate one. So the first type of introduction, see, every single time whenever you are writing questions, you need to be very much mindful that is this the kind of intro I'm using, it is as per the approach, or you are just making random intro. I'm not going to allow any single person with any random intro. You need to be very much particular. If there is unit 1.1, so you have to be very much particular about the data or the information, or intro should be prepared beforehand by you. Okay, so now let's understand first by the introduction. The first part you need to do is origin. So let us suppose there are some questions which require you to explain about origin. In some of the question, we can start with the introduction with the origin part. Like for example, there is one question about the ABO blood group system. So instead of explaining what is this blood group system, we can mention the origin, the year, and when the ABO blood group system it originated, when it was recognized, when it was invented. So in some type of question, we can use this approach of explaining about origin. Next approach is meaning. In some other type of question, we can explain about the meaning about the term which is being asked. Like for example, the question is about ecological anthropology, epidemiological anthropology. The question is about the kinship. So what we can do, we can explain the term. So in introduction we can explain the term, because not in any question they would be asking about the different type or explanation about the topic. They just want us to explain about the meaning. Now after the meaning there is next term where we need to write down the name of anthropologist plus their book reference. So in this part what we are going to do is we can start with the anthropologist name and book reference, and I would say majority of the times use this. When I am saying majority of the times, preferably use this, but do not do this overdo. Means it should not be like that in every single question you are using just this name. Okay, it should not be like that. Now next part is using any example or either any recent incident. This is also again very good part starting with the introduction, but try to understand in paper 2 will get more scope for using this. In paper 1 there is less scope for using the same. Here we would be using the third one majority of the times, but meaning thing will also work if the questions demand such. Fine. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4. Now once you are writing any answer and if any of the intro you are using, I am going to ask you 1, 2, 3, 4 which intro you feel appropriate or why you use this part of intro. Means my every single student would be aware of why they are using this type of introduction. It should not be random. I am not going to allow any random introduction. Fine. On the very first day, for the very first answer writing test, I wanted to ask you to be very much mindful. Whenever you are like, it should not be like that you are blank about the questions. As I told you beforehand, prepare. Like for example, if there is a question on the origin and development of anthropology, most appropriately I will be using the name of what? T.K. Penniman and their book 100 Years of Anthropology. It should be like that. Let us suppose later on in the unit 2.1 there is culture. So if you have to explain about culture, so you must be giving the name of any anthropologist. Like you are mentioning about the Ruth Benedict and their pattern of culture. It should be like that. Whenever you are writing an introduction, I will ask you why you use that. You should be in such a situation, in such a condition, you are able to tell me, ma'am, I use it because I feel this is the appropriate one. That's why I use third one or I use second one. Fine, and there should not be overdo. Okay, so this is the part for using the introduction. Now, once you are done with the introduction, then comes the body part. Now, the body part should start with the heading. It should start with the heading. Here you should write heading. Heading should be taken from the language of question itself. If the question they are using the word significant, so in the heading you will use significance. In the question, if the limit is about evaluation, critically evaluate the aspect or something, so you are using the word evaluate. Or like let us suppose the question is language affecting the culture, so the heading should be language affecting culture. So it should be like that. Hope you can understand. Fine. Then there should be subheading. Okay, it should be like that. The body should be in the bullet point. There must be a master heading. Then there are subheading explanation, maybe in the bullet point or something. Second page, for sure you would be using the diagram, or the diagram should be created a box, then create the diagram. Either it should be like here, in one question, one diagram. Do not do this thing immediately after introduction you are framing diagram. No. If you wanted to mention two diagram, one for the meaning or another one for the later on, first explain one line and then create here. So diagram could be here or it could be here, or diagram could be here. These are the position I am telling you. At one point of time you can only use two diagrams, at one page only one diagram. So diagram appropriately on the first page or on the second page, either like this or like this. That is the position. Every single time whenever framing the diagram, enclose it within the box. Okay, and then write it here also. At last here write down the conclusion. Now again conclusion should be in the 3 to 4 lines. Conclusion should be positive, and every single time try to find out the answer for a question significant, that why this part is significant for you. Let us suppose I'm asking how language is affecting the culture. So why language is significant to explain about culture. Keep this question in your mind, try to find answer, and then write the conclusion. So conclusion should not include the word thus, we can say that, therefore, it can be said. Conclusion should not include these words. Conclusion should try to answer a certain question, and the question is, what is the significance of this particular thing in the question as being asked. So it should be explained in this way. Hope you are able to understand it completely. That's how your answer should reflect. So every single person, you need to frame this, and it should be reflected in your answer writing. As you will see, for the very first time you will feel difficult like to remember it and to replicate it similarly, but later on with the practice you will understand, this will internalize. Okay, so this is the basic thing. Now if you are having any certain doubt about this, any certain doubt, so you just text me personally after watching the session, and then let me know your doubts, anything related to the same. Fine. Okay, so thank you so much for today. बाकी फिर मिलते हैं